Iran, for some reason, I think obviously we follow Masih Ali-Nejad, that feminist. She's not an ex-Muslim, but her views, she's aggressively against the Iranian Islamic Republic of Iran. She's the one who was, they tried to kidnap her from her Manhattan apartment last year. So I follow them, Mariam Namazi, and then the stories keep coming out. Usually it's against the women who refuse to wear hijabs. But again, this is another, but this one is a bit different, going down the Pakistan way. I'm going to start calling the Pakistan syndrome, because India is definitely fully infected by it. Have a look at this one. Iranian youth sentenced to death for insulting Prophet and Islam. Amnesty International reported that there were 289 state executions carried out in the country in 2014. So Iranian authorities have sentenced a 21-year-old man to death for insulting Islam through text messages sent on mobile application, the Independent reported. Sina Dangam, who was 19 at the time of the incident, so you're not allowed to just, to just slip up once. 19-year-old guy, like basically a kid. Yes, we call them adults, but it's a different world. Muhammad gave the definition of an adult is if you start growing pubic hairs, then it's like that could be 13 or 14. You'd be treated as an adult. This is not how it works in the modern world. It should never even have worked in the primitive world of Islam or Muhammad. But anyway, so he confessed to the crime. Who knows under how much duress? After he was promised pardon in exchange. According to Dagan's lawyer, the prosecutors went back on...
What?
What do you expect?
Yeah, no, it's all a kangaroo court system there, but still...
Yeah, I know. Who's going to trust them?
This is a forced confession.
Yeah, or deceit.
Yeah, full on deceit.
Prosecutors went back on the agreement, and he was consequently given the death sentence. Center for Human Rights in Iran claimed that in January, the Supreme Court upheld the 2015 death sentence issued against the Iranian youth by the Iraq Criminal Court. Dagan, who had been charged for insulting the Prophet, was also issued a 16-month prison sentence for insulting the Supreme Leader. Oh, so screwed him too. Iran's Islamic Penal Code states that insulting the Prophet is punishable by death. So, all those people who say, oh, Shia Islam is not that bad, especially my Urdu stream, you see a lot of Shia apologists come and they try to say, oh, we don't have Aisha, 9-year-old. Well, fair enough. Okay, well, what about all the other crap that you've got in there? But because we don't know enough about it, and to be honest, I'm not even interested. It's only, 10% of the Muslim world is Shia. The rest is Sunni and, Salafis and all these Deobandis and Barelvis. So what about this? You got death sentence for apostasy and blasphemy. However, if the accused admits that their insults were made in anger or were a mistake, the sentence could be reduced to 74 lashings. Ooh, out of the fire into the frying pan. Actually, no, the other way. The family of the 21-year-old who had been arrested in that's fan. That had been arrested in October 2015. Thus, were hoping to ensure freedom for Dagam. Security and judicial authorities promised Sina's family that if they didn't make any noise about this case, he would have a better chance of being freed. Look, it's just this provocation, intimidation keeps on going. Now, there's a saying in Pakistani, "Ek to marta hai, upar se rone bhi nahi deta." What would be the proper translation? Like,
on the one hand, he hits him, and then he doesn't even let him cry about it.
Yes, exactly. That's what they're doing. First, they get a confession out of him under deceit, under duress, and then they say, "Ooh, you gotta stay quiet." Talking about it to the media would work against him. An informed source was quoted as saying to CHRI, and again, obviously, this has made the international news, so that would be held against him. Later, in a video interview to CHRI, the Iranian youth's mother said, according to Sina's lawyer, steps have been taken for a judicial review, and with the good news we're hearing from him, God willing, this case will come to end positively as soon as possible.
I hope so.
Well, let's hope so. I'm not very familiar with how these Iranian courts work, because in Pakistan, almost everyone gets a death sentence at the lower court, but then when it goes to higher court and the Supreme Court, it's always overturned. But by that time, they've spent 10, 12 years in solitary confinement.
Languishing on death row, yeah.
And also, the primary reason behind that is in lower courts there's a qazi sitting behind the judge. So this is a Anglo-Saxon judicial system supposedly, but they have put a Maulvi, a cleric,
religious
at the back.
Figure, yeah.
Yeah, religious figure, and he makes a decision. If he thinks it's against Islam, then he says, oh, and no judge has any balls to actually stand up to him. So what they say, there's no security, and then what they say is like, okay, well, death sentence, give them what they want, let them go to high court, appeal it, and then but by that time, as I said, these guys come out extremely damaged, because for their own safety they're put in solitary confinement. The biggest example is Junaid Hafiz. Last year he was sentenced to death. This guy's story is it's heartbreaking. Got his master's degree from the US university. He was a Fulbright scholarship winner student. And he thought, no, I'm going to go back to my country and I'm going to serve. I'm going to teach them English. And that was his mistake. He was teaching them. One of his students complained against him that he made a Facebook post. The defense suggests that it was never him. Some people who wanted his position in some union or something, they framed him. But who cares about that? When it comes to this, 2014, he's been languishing in prison, solitary confinement. Ayaz Azami is another one. There's like so many of them. So this religion, I think Abdullah Gondal, in his Facebook post, he was cancelled on Twitter, said, Muhammad has killed more people from his grave than outside of it. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
People name Hitler and Stalin and all these guys, but if we include everything, every war that was ever fought in the name of Islamic conquest, and people who were put under Sharia, homosexuals, adulterers, all these people.
Every case that you could possibly conjure up in the last 1400 years.
And including the war crimes. I think Stalin and Hitler are nothing. And this keeps on going. These things are judicial murders.
If you like these videos and want to support me in my activism, then you can support me on Patreon or PayPal. Stay free, everyone.